Hi, this is JS with Movie Clips, here with a review of one of the Oscar-nominated documentaries, The Act of Killing. This is directed by Joshua Oppenheimer, who has spent the last few years in Indonesia actually making connections so that he could make this film, which is largely about the former death squad leaders of the 1965 genocide that took place in the country. Unlike most documentaries, The Act of Killing actually features zero archival footage or anything of that matter. It's entirely where these people are today, namely Anwar Congo, who was once an executioner and now enjoys his life as a grandfather among many other activities. Congo himself was responsible for the death of over 1,000 people who died due to his own hands, and he shows us some of the techniques which he used to kill various people. What further sets The Act of Killing apart from the other documentaries that we're seeing this year are that the filmmaker has asked them to recreate a lot of these heinous killings. Back in the day, Anwar and his friends were actually known as movie theater gangsters. And this term, gangster, is something they go back to again and again throughout the film. Perhaps the most unnerving thing about this documentary is seeing the state of Indonesia today, where these men are heralded as heroes and they're brought on TV talk shows to talk about some of their famous exploits. Anwar Congo specifically, we see throughout the course of this documentary, undergo a change. When he sees the killings that he's been asked to recreate and then watches them in his own living room, he is affected by the violence. We often talk about how violence desensitizes the youth of our nation, but what The Act of Killing actually pushes forward is that it can be a sensitizing act to some individuals. The Act of Killing is an unprecedented film. I think this is one of the most important films ever made and easily the best documentary of the year. The first time I saw The Act of Killing, I was privileged enough to be there for a Q&A with Joshua Oppenheimer. Before the film, he actually stood up and told us, it's okay to laugh when you watch this. I thought that was really strange, actually. But he told us that many of the audiences he has screened the film with actually did find it entertaining, and Indonesian audiences laughed the most. This is an impossibly entertaining film because Anwar and his friends, albeit murderers, are quite jolly people to hang around with, and the documentary lets us into their lives like no other film could. Errol Morris has gone on the record for saying the last 20 minutes of this film are the most important thing ever put on celluloid. I would have to echo his words. I think what this film gets at is absolutely groundbreaking in how violence affects the human psyche and the cry for repentance that one can ultimately have. In my estimation, The Act of Killing is the frontrunner for the best feature-length Oscar that's been nominated this year. We'll see if it turns out that way, and in the meantime, you can see it for yourself on Netflix Instant. For Movie Clips, this is JS. Thanks for watching.